Do you consider yourself a master procrastinator and you're almost kind of proud of it? Because let's be honest, you've been successful at achieving all of your deadlines. But what if you're also sick of the anxiety, the rushing around, the panic, the worry? What if I don't get it done? And the constant cycle of procrastinate and rush and procrastinate and rush. Well, today I'm giving you my #1 phrase to help break that cycle and start creating new habits of productivity that will have actual lasting results. Not only that, I have a killer bonus phrase to help keep you motivated for those long-term goals and how to maintain your progress. I need to take you back about 7 or 8 years. Now, I was a late bloomer and didn't enter college until I was 28, so by the time I entered my senior year, I was getting into my mid-30s because I was working full-time and couldn't do a full course load like many of my classmates. And as I was entering my senior year, I was still used to just doing the absolute what had to be done right before it was due, and it created so much unnecessary stress, and as an adult who was working, it was easy to do, to go, you know what, that's a future Holly problem.
You know who I think could handle a problem like that?
Who?
Future Ted and future Marshall.
Totally.
This thing isn't due until Tuesday. That's a Monday Holly problem. This thing isn't due until the end of the month. That's a future Holly problem. And so on and so on and so on. And what helped encourage this is some of my best work was done under those procrastinating conditions and the stress that I put on myself. And I was actually published in a textbook for an essay that I wrote in 4 hours the day it was due. It was due at midnight. And yeah, so I didn't even intend to procrastinate for this particular essay. It was just a matter of I kept hitting dead ends on my research, and it wasn't until the morning that it was due. Actually, it was late in the morning that it was due. Right before lunchtime or so, I remember being in the library, and I finally stumbled on the piece of information that was really going to transform this essay and bring it the life that it was looking for. And because I am very strong in English and in writing, and it was near the end of the semester, and I already had a pretty good idea of what the professor expected, both in how to be concise, how to structure everything, and how to do the essays, I was able to knock it out from start to finish. I scrapped my original essay and started a whole new essay and finished it within 4 hours. And then that summer, he sent me a release form asking if I would be published in that textbook, and I was like so stoked. So of course, like obviously I do my best work last minute under pressure, so why would I be motivated to change any of this? And never mind the times where I had gotten kind of bitten in the rear end and was almost late or couldn't quite finish a homework assignment, whatever the case may be, but I was still doing good enough and mostly getting A's and high B's. So what motivation did I have to change? Now, I'll tell you, going into my senior year, and when you're a chemistry major, your fellow classmates, it's a pretty small number, and we were actually the largest class by, I want to say it was double or triple what Kent State was used to. We had 14 in our graduating class, but even then, at 14 students, we all knew each other by the beginning of our senior year. And one of my fellow students, she was so lovely and like just such a bright, sparkly personality. I remember very distinctly, we were in the same math class, so that would have been Calculus 3 for us by the time our senior year hit. And I remember both of us must have had a pocket of time between Calculus 3 and whatever was after that. I don't remember. And so the class ended, and so she immediately starts on her homework. I'm like, well, that's strange. Why wouldn't you just go to the student center, grab a coffee, relax in between classes? And I think I made a comment, something to the effect of, oh, you're starting your homework now? And her response was, yeah, I don't really want to, but I feel like future me is going to thank me if I just do it now or at least get it started. And I was like, this 21-year-old just schooled me on how to be more productive and stay ahead of things. And I was 34, 35 at the time. So, yeah. So naturally I was like, oh, well, I never really thought of it that way. So do you want to do our homework together? I don't think we actually finished the homework, but we got a good chunk of it done. And it was actually kind of nice to feel like I had some breathing room. And what's also interesting is the fact that this had never occurred to me before, even though prior to going to college, I had largely worked in manufacturing and like actually on the factory floors. So I was used to being a production bee. I don't remember the context of the conversation, but I do remember a supervisor or someone at some point saying, well, if you're not ahead, you're already behind. And so internally, as it related to my work, I was always trying to stay at least a little bit ahead of what I needed to, and that made sense because once I got ahead, I know I can comfortably take lunch and not feel like I have to rush to get caught back up to whatever the rate that was set for any quotas or anything like that. It's really strange to me that I hadn't thought of that in other aspects of my life, whether it's homework or doing things at home, like taxes or whatever, which the last few years I have totally been procrastinating, but I do typically try to do them much sooner than I have been. I'm gonna get better at that. That's my goal for 2025, is not to do my taxes at the very last minute. Come January or early February, whenever I have all of my tax documents, I'm going to tell myself, future me will thank me later. And this, even today, I put something in the air fryer for lunch, I set it for 8 minutes, and I went, what is something I can do now so future me will thank me? And I could either do a few dishes or take the trash out. So I ended up deciding I'm going to take the trash out, throw away some items in the fridge, make some room in the fridge for shopping this weekend. So then that was one less thing I had to worry about once I logged off from work and I ended my day. Same thing for shopping this weekend. Now I know I'm not going to be struggling as much to cram stuff in, and I can just do whatever shopping, because most of the food that will need to have been thrown out by Saturday will have been thrown out, and it really won't be such a huge effort to come home, clean out the fridge, and then put away groceries that are in the bags with the ice packs, and it won't be such a frantic effort anymore. And that's actually something I started doing before shopping days, is making sure, okay, it's Thursday or Friday, I know I'm going to go shopping on this Saturday with my dad, so what can I get rid of? What leftovers didn't I eat in time? Any fruit or vegetable spoilage? Anything like that? Once that is cleared out, it makes coming home from such a long morning of shopping, because we start out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and often we go all the way until about noon, so 4 hours of shopping is kind of a lot, and especially for someone who's not a natural shopper, out in the public, it can be kind of draining. So having that reassurance that I can come home and this future version of me will just be able to put away my groceries makes life so much easier and makes Saturdays much more enjoyable. So that's definitely something I've been implementing and reintroducing back into my life, because I was good about it for a while and then I wasn't. So I am definitely re-implementing that right now. And of course, you can apply this to whatever you have going on in your life, whether it's decluttering, whether it's cleaning, whether you're trying to lose weight or do anything, maybe your side business, side hustle, paying down bills. So if you wanted to pick up extra Instacart or DoorDash, and that's going to make you feel better if you can pay down some debt, I highly encourage thinking of everything through that lens of future me is going to thank me when I do this. And on that note, it doesn't always have to be something productive, because even recently, there was a day where I feel like I woke up exhausted. I don't know if I just didn't sleep well. I don't remember specifically offhand. Probably the cats were play fighting all night and woke me up, and so anyway. That's, of course, another whole thing. I mean, from the time I got up, I was exhausted. So when I came home and I was like, I really should do the dishes. And of course, I'm trying to get should out of my language in general, because then that's when we tell ourselves things that make us feel bad about ourselves if we don't actually do it in that moment. But okay, so for instance, I could have done the dishes and stayed on top of them, because I've been doing pretty good at that lately. And I just added to the dishes pile because I was exhausted. When I really stood there and evaluated in my mind, is future me going to thank me for doing these dishes? Or is future me going to more appreciate the rest that I'm about to give my body by relaxing a little bit and maybe going to bed early? So that was a choice that I made, and it made sense for me. So you also need to be a little bit in tune with yourself and kind of how you're feeling, because there are times where rest and recuperation and whatever it is more important. So that's how I would encourage you to start asking yourself what future you is going to thank you for the most in that moment. Oh, the irony of this room, because oh, I'm even thinking right now, future me would feel so much better if I got this office cleared up, because if you could see what was behind my phone, but it's like I have things out because I have my own personal crochet project that I want to work on, plus stuff and supplies out for some custom orders that came in, so I should put away the stuff that I know for sure I'm not going to be using on my personal project or for the custom order, but yeah. I'll go ahead and do that while this is all uploading into my editing software. If you are an active participant on my community tab on my channel and you're thinking to yourself, we just voted on the video that we were most excited about, and so I thought you would make that video first. And yeah, that was the plan. And then I went to outline those two videos and I realized it actually makes more sense to do this video first this week and put out the other one next week. So thank you for being an active community member, and why don't you consider becoming a member and getting more voting power, more votes, and possibly getting early access to all of my videos. So just something to think about. And about that bonus tip we talked about earlier, I actually am borrowing this from Alex Hormozi.
So how much time do I spend on fitness stuff in general? So my big advice is get in shape between 18 and 24.
Well, okay, kind of too late for me, but it doesn't mean I can't get in shape.
And then after that, the maintenance of being in shape, it takes like 10% of your time.
How have I never thought of it that way? Once you get in shape, it only takes 10% effort to maintain that. Why didn't I think of this? Seriously. So I'm even doing this with cleaning. If I just, vacuum regularly, it's going to take 10% less effort than having to vacuum and vacuum and vacuum and empty and vacuum and vacuum and empty. Just keep on top of stuff. It also helps to buy a really great vacuum, and the one that I have linked down below is extremely affordable. Way more affordable than any of the Dysons or Sharks or any of that. And I'm telling you, this thing beats the pants off any of those. It's highly rated for a reason. Run, do not walk to your nearest Walmart and snag it, because it often goes out of stock, and for good reason. Just be prepared to be a little bit horrified by all of the stuff that comes out of your carpets, because I sure was. And there is room for improvement on this, particularly, say, in the bathroom, where mold is an issue. And I've heard people say, well, if you keep some spray cleaner in there and you can just stay on top of it, and that's a great idea. I did that for a little bit and then I got away from it. And then it became kind of a hassle because I don't have one of those shower heads where you can pull the wand and spray down the walls and everything and rinse off all the cleaner. So I'm like, well, this is more hassle than it is for me to just get in and get out of the shower. And so that didn't make sense to me. But then I was like, well, if my only barrier for getting this into shape and being able to just quickly rinse off and spray down and everything and keep the soap scum at bay, the mildew, the mold, all of it, if that's all it takes is that little handheld attachment thingy to be able to spray down the walls and everything, well, I mean, how much could that cost? Probably in my mind, $30-35. I'm probably willing to spend that at this point just to be able to have that be one less thing and have something much more manageable going forward with that. And actually, Walmart has some very extremely affordable ones for less than $20. Guess who's ordering one of those soon? I just it's silly stuff like that where I'm like, if I could just get this in shape this one time. And now I know Alex Hormozi is telling me, well, if you do this whole big thing once, whether it's decluttering, weight loss, cleaning, it just takes that 10% effort to put everything on autopilot. And that's probably kind of in tone with how some of these minimalists are trying to say, hey, everything's much more manageable and you have very minimal effort to maintain these things. I don't think you have to become a minimalist and own almost nothing in order to have something manageable and maintainable in that 5 to 10% effort range. That's something I've started implementing. I still have a long way to go to get things totally whipped into shape and make it super maintainable, super easy, but I am getting there. and I hope you are getting there as well. And I also wanted to let you know, I think you are awesome and you are doing a totally amazing job at just doing whatever you can do, whether it's just sitting and absorbing in all this inspiration and motivation. And when your day comes that you are ready to really tackle whatever you have going on in your life, I completely 100% believe in you, and I do mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I cannot wait to visit with you next time. Bye.